Hello, my name is Brandon Skates. Today is March 30th, 2012. I am interviewing Caryn Morgan. The interview is taking place in Morgan Hall 203B in Macomb, Illinois. This interview is a part of the Oral History Project for English 42 Life Oriented Spring 2012. What is your position in WOW, and how long have you been involved with WOW?
I have been involved with WOW since 2001, so about 11 years. I am currently the co-president. I have been the co-president for 1 year and will be starting the second year of my term this July.
How was the campus climate when you first joined WOW?
When I first joined WOW, the campus climate was friendly, receptive. It continues to be so. WOW has a purpose. There's some things that we need to everyone, but the campus climate, the administration have always been receptive to that.
What are some of the movements and programming that you have been a part of?
Most recently, some of our big accomplishments with WOW have had to do with a lactation program on campus. The state of Illinois requires the university to provide space for nursing mothers to pump or to nurse their infants. It's very vague as far as what kind of requirements are there, and WOW has really worked hard to try to get as many spaces in as many buildings as possible to make sure they're furnished nicely and make sure that everyone has access to them. Also recently we have worked on getting what's called an elder care benefit for all employees at Western. Predominantly this is something that does affect women, but the benefit is available to everyone. And what it does is it provides leave time, flexible scheduling, those kinds of things if anyone has parents or grandparents that they need time off to care for.
What are some of the current programs, or did you mention that already?
Sure. Lactation, we're still working on that because while we do have a good variety of rooms on the north end of campus and the south end of campus, and at some of our satellite facilities like Cornfield campus, we would like to see space in every building so there's as much access as possible. We've also been working to establish a daycare task force to assess the need for child care on campus, both for faculty, staff, and then also for students, because our current campus daycare in Horriban Hall is not open during the summer, and we've heard from our membership that there's a need to have that open in the summer, and so we want to see that it really is a need and what we can do to make that a reality.
What has been your biggest struggle, or like the organization's biggest struggle that you guys have had to overcome, or has it been any issues with like getting different programming done on campus?
Since I've really been involved with it, there hasn't been anything that's been a huge struggle. The daycare task force actually has not gone as smoothly as we thought it would. We established that. We brought that to the president's attention last summer, and the task force was established, but we haven't made as much progress as we thought we would over this year, and so we need to kind of regroup and see what else we can do, take a different tactic for that one. So that's something we're currently struggling with.
What has been like some successes that the organization has had?
Well, I mean, originally when WOW was founded, part of what prompted the founding of WOW, or what was kind of the seeds of WOW, was a salary equity study. And so by doing that study and seeing that there was a difference in the salaries paid to men and women on campus, WOW was really able to kind of start to equalize that. We're actually also currently doing another salary equity study in conjunction with a couple of other employee groups on campus to see if there still exists any inequality there. Some other things that we've overcome more recently would be like with the lactation program, there were a couple buildings on campus that were really resistant to giving up space or finding a space for there to be that, and we had to do some persuasion to be able to make that happen, but we were able to do so.
What groups were you working with or are working with? So like
on that salary equity study, we're working with another group that the acronym is COAP. It's the Council on Administrative Personnel. They just happened to be, their membership at the same time was wanting to do a salary and actually a promotion study to see how their members were being promoted and how equitably they were being paid. Our membership was wanting to look at it in terms of gender, and so we've partnered with them so that we're not duplicating work. We'll also be involving a group called CSEC, the Civil Service Employee Council. And again, their membership was wanting to look at salaries, how they compare with other universities, and then how frequently and how often their employees are being promoted through the ranks. And so part of what's happening with our salary equity study is looking at promotion and retention, because obviously we can't pay someone a salary if we're not retaining them as employees here. And so we want to look and see if there seems to be a problem with retaining women in our workforce here at Western.
Do former members or like older members, are they still active and well?
For the most part, they really are. This year is our 40th anniversary, and so a lot of our programming has revolved around that 40th anniversary. So we've all been really looking annually. This year revolved around inviting our former members, our founding members that are still here in town to come and be a part of that, to share their stories. And this spring, our spring luncheon is our other social event that we have every year. One of our founding members, or earliest members of WOW, is going to be delivering our keynote address for that.
And for those award ceremonies, are they different from the fall and the spring, or are they similar?
They're a little bit similar. We only have one actual award every year, and we present that award in the spring semester, and that's called the WOW Achievement Award, and so that's always presented to someone who has had a personal achievement, professionally achieved something, helped other women on campus. The fall reception, we don't present an award at that point in time. That's just for our members to socialize and kind of helps us as the board to interact with the membership, see what topics are on their minds.
Can women students get involved with WOW?
Yep, actually, and we are open to women and men, students, faculty, and staff. We have very few student members, but we do have a few out there. And we also have very few male members, but we do have a few that are out there, but we are open to anyone, men and women.
What is your fondest memory of being a WOW member?
Probably being able to present that achievement award. It means a lot to the person who receives it. It also means a lot to the person who nominates that person to be able to get that recognition out there. And so I've been able to be the one giving the speech and presenting the award for the last 2 years, and I will do so again this year. And so that's a nice thing for me to be able to do, to be able to recognize other people and present this pretty large award to them.
Is WOW willing to work with student organizations and leaders to implement programming?
I think we would be. We haven't been approached by any student organizations with any needs that we could serve, but I wouldn't see that being a problem as we're approached by other groups on campus. We've always been willing to work with them as much as we're able to. For example, and actually, as I said that, I was just thinking, we helped sponsor, there was a documentary on modern-day slave trade called Call and Response. We helped sponsor that with a couple of student organizations. Western Against Slavery was part of that, and WIU's chapter of Amnesty International were part of that as well.
What are some future plans going into 2012-2013 school year?
Okay. Our biggest initiatives in the next school year right now are going to be that daycare task force, trying to get up and running and get a real assessment of child care needs. And that's, again, for faculty, staff, and students on campus, and to see if we can make any adjustments if they're needed with child care. We're continuing to work on the lactation program, but that's kind of become a little bit of a smaller issue for us here on campus. And also the salary equity, promotion, and retention study. We're really looking to continue with that.
What can students, faculty, administration, and organizations do to help the WOW move forward?
Just the administration really has to help us out by providing support. A lot of things move kind of from the top down, and so if they see support for us from the president's office, from the provost's office, from other vice president's offices, that helps us out. As far as students, faculty, that kind of thing, again, it's a matter of providing us support by being members as we are doing things like the salary equity study, being willing to answer surveys or provide interviews or anything of that nature. And usually we find pretty broad-based support on campus.
How was Western in relevance to WOW?
What do you mean?
Like, relevance as far as, like, how often did you have an opportunity to meet with the provost or, like, the president? Do you have time to sit down with, like, other administration and faculty?
Sure, yeah. We typically do. We meet with the president every summer. That's one of our other traditions, is to have a summer meeting with the president. When President Goldfarb was here, he traditionally brought the provost with him to that. So far, we've had one summer where Jack Thomas has been our president, and he did having a meeting with President Thomas again this summer. One of the areas where we've asked for lactation space was in Sherman Hall, and to establish that, we did need to meet with the president, and he was very willing to make time for us, which we very much appreciated because he is very busy, but we were able to pretty quickly get on his calendar and do that. And any other vice presidents that we've needed some information from, we've been able to do so. Part of the salary equity study is pulling information from what's called institutional research and planning here on campus. They keep all of our records at the university, and their director and their overseeing vice provost have been very willing to work with us and help us get that information.
What do you know about the history of WOW, or why was it created? Do you know any?
I know a little bit, and partly that comes because this has been our 40th anniversary year. We've all been looking at the history. WOW was established in 1971, and part of why it was there is because there's another group on campus that still exists but has changed very much since its founding. There's a group called University Women, and when University Women was founded, that was only for the wives of faculty members. So any women who were employed by the university were not allowed to join University Women. And so WOW was established to be there for faculty women. University Women has now changed. It's open to anyone. WOW has changed because we were previously only for faculty. We're now open to faculty, to staff, to students. We're open to men and women, the same thing with University Women. And so that's part of where we came from. The president we had at the time, John Bernard, established a committee called the Status of Women on campus, and a lot of the people who were on that committee for the Status of Women were also the founding members of WOW.
Were there any things such as women's rights, politics, policies that WOW was involved with, or were there any policies that WOW had issues with and tried to change those policies?
There have been over the years. I'm not as familiar with all of them as I could be, but some things kind of in general that we've tried to work with are getting more women administrators on our campus, or trying to have a little bit more balance there, making sure that we're considering women in administrative positions, making sure that we're promoting women at the same rate as men, of course paying women the same types of salaries as men. We've also worked towards getting a little bit more parental leave, and oftentimes that's referred to as maternity leave, but in our case it extends to mothers and to fathers. We want to make sure that any benefit that we're getting for women is also there for men. Obviously, leave is for a parental reason is usually more affecting women, but it's out there for the men as well.
What days, time, and place do WOW meet?
We meet once a month. The executive board meets once a month, usually on a Friday. The board meetings are open to our membership, but typically it is the board and any acting committees that we have at any time. Some members of that committee may come in and meet with us there. A lot of our business is conducted by email, which is common for a lot of things on campus now. But the board meets once a month, and then we have our 2 social events, the fall reception, the spring luncheon, and then our summer meeting with the president.
I believe March is Women's History Month.
Mm-hmm.
What programming have you done in the past during Women's History Month, or what program have you done this month for Women's History Month?
We haven't done much with Women's History Month this year or recently. A lot of the programming for Women's History Month is done through the Women's Center, and so we tend to partner with the Women's Center, providing sponsorship for activities, helping promote their activities and those kinds of things. But we typically do not do our own presentations or panels or anything of that nature.
Okay. All right. Thank you
You're
for
welcome.
taking the time to let me interview you.